Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate your presence. Today is August the 12th, 2022. I have some news to share with you. The first one is about Gurage Zone Council rejecting Abiy Ahmed's attempt and a threat with a excessive force to abandon their ambition to form their own regional state. So the Gurage council members, with a majority vote, rejected the cluster arrangement Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed or Prosperity Party was planning to do. So that was rejected. Thanks to the effort made by the Gurage residents. They did a very fantastic job in opposing this cluster arrangement. So when the people come together and demand justice, they will get it. If they are separate, if they are against each other, if they are divided by agendas, they will not get anything. So Gurages can be an example of collective bargaining, unity if you are united. So that's one. The other one is EZEMA, rejecting the boundary arrangement between Addis Ababa and Oromia region. The other one is Michael Hammer, U.S. Horn of Africa Special Representative, comment on the situation on the Tigray, humanitarian aid, and other topics. In case you missed it from other medias, I have the video on that one. The impact of Israeli bombardment in Gaza, there is one video on that one too. So let's get started. I'll start with a couple of news I got from Addis Standard. Addis Standard is my best reference about Ethiopia. They release news about Ethiopia. So I checked with them to get some updates. So these are the ones for today. Gurage Zone Council declines new cluster restructuring, sticks to earlier requests. In an emergency meeting held today, the Council of Gurage Zone in southern nations, nationalities, and peoples, in short, SNNP regional state, rejected the government's proposal to be organized in clusters to pave ways for two more new regional states. The emergency meeting was attended by the 92 of the 97 members of the council and was held in the presence of SNNP President Ristu Yirda and other high-level officials of the regional state. Accordingly, 52 of the 92 attending council members voted against the proposal, which would see the zone joining 4 other zones and one special worada to form a new regional state. Overwhelmingly rejected the proposal to cluster with other administrative structures. On August 9, residents in Walkite City, the capital of Gurage Zone, staged protests by boycotting routine activities, including civil service works and business activities in opposition against the cluster restructuring. There were more protests yesterday in other towns in the zone. The new restructuring will have seen 4 zones: Hadia, Halaba, Kembata, Embaro, and Silte zones, as well as Yem Special Worada joined the Gurage Zone to be organized into one new regional state. However, the zonal administration objected from being a part of the clustering, stating that it has not yet discussed on the issue of restructuring to join the other zones and the special waradas. Earlier, Alamyirga Walde, head of economic sector of the Gurage Zone Council, said that the Gurage Zone administration was instead waiting for the response sector of the Gurage Zone Council. Said the Gurage Zone administration was instead waiting for the response from the House of Federation on its earlier request for a regional state status, which was submitted on 26 November 2018. Alamyirga recalled that these zones and special waradas had discussed the issue at different levels, but said that the Gurage people expressed their opinions that the question of the regional organization, which was already approved by the zonal council and was still waiting for the decision from the House of Federation. The Gurage Zone Council had unanimously voted for the establishment of a separate regional state status during an emergency meeting it held on 26 November 2018. The Council has no other opinion but to implement the people's request, Alamyirga said, reminding members of the Council that their accountability is only to the Constitution, to the people, and their conscience, and that the members should implement the Council's decision without anyone's influence. Today's emergency meeting took place following the submission on 04 August by Keflu Wana, Deputy Speaker of the SNNP Regional State Council, to the House of Federation, a cluster of 10 zones and 6 waradas in the region, requesting to be restructured in 2 additional regional states out of the existing SNNP region. The respective council of zones and special waradas approved the requests over the weekend of 31st July. The new restructuring will merge a total of 16 zones and special waradas in SNNP region into 2 additional regional states. Accordingly, the 6 zones, Gamo, Gedeo, Gofa, Konso, South Omo, and Walaita zones, as well as the 5 special waradas, Ale, Amaro, Burji, Basketo, Derashe special waradas will form one regional state after the House of Federation approved the request. Similarly, 4 zones, Hadia, Halaba, Kambata, Temparo, and Silte zones and the Yem Special Worada will be organized in one regional state. Keflu has asked the House of Federation to respond to the request immediately based on the Constitution. So that is about the challenge Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party facing from Gurage residents and the Gurage council members. So they rejected the cluster arrangement which was in plan for SNNP plus for others, for Oromos too, Oromo regional state. So cluster division is a kind of division that is rejected for now by Gurage council members. They are celebrating on the streets. I have a video on that one. So despite heavy security presence, heavy military presence, the Gurages, the Gurage council members voted against the cluster arrangement. Let's see this video and come to EZEMA's statement on its opposition about the boundary arrangement between Addis Ababa and the Oromia regional state.
ከፌዴራል የወረዱና የክልሉ ከፍተኛ የብልጽግና ባለስልጣናት የክላስተር አደረጃጀትን እንድንደግፍ የማሳመንና ጫና የማድረግ ስራ ቢሰሩም የምክር ቤቱ አባላት በተባበረ ድምጽ የጉራጌ ክልልነትን ውሳኔ እንዲቀጥል በአብላጫ ድምጽ ወስነን ወጥተናልም ብለዋል።
አጣብቂኝ ሁኔታ ነው ነበር ያሉ የነበሩት አመራሮቹ። ስለዚህ አጣብቂኝ ውስጥ ከሆነ ደግሞ ይራዘም ወይ ደግሞ በዚህ ሰዓት የክልልነት ውሳኔ አልሰጥም ይባላል እንጂ አጣብቂኝ
So this is a council member talking about the pressure they were under from the federal government and those who are supporting the cluster arrangement. Too much pressure, plus the military and the other security force presence.
የምክር ቤቱ አባላትን ውሳኔ ተከትሎ በዞኑ የተለያዩ ከተሞች ህዝቡ ወደ አደባባይ በመውጣት ደስታውንም ገልጿል።
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right time. I can...
These are the security forces ready to challenge.
Africa's largest
Okay, I will come back to this video about the Ethiopian GERD or dam start generating power. That was a big news today. So that is, the achievement because the Gurages spoke with one voice, challenged the system, boycotted the civil service and other business activities. Finally, they won for now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future because Prosperity Party led by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is a brutal one. They might come back and attack the residents and do whatever they want to do. They tried the same thing, I think, in Wolaita one time. So, but for now, good job, the Gurage people. Congratulations. Here we go. EZEMA is in Amharic, the Ethiopian Citizens for Special Social Justice Party, so opposing the boundary arrangement between the capital city Addis Ababa and Oromia regional state. The Ethiopia Citizens for Social Justice in Amharic EZEMA party said that the decision to delimit the administrative boundaries between Addis Ababa city and the Oromia special zone surrounding Finfinne is a big mistake, and also called it an attempt to forcefully impose, whereby the disadvantage would outweigh the advantages. Following the emergency meeting of the party's National Executive Committee today, it issued a statement denouncing the administrative boundary work and said it is an untimely decision. In the same meeting, the Executive Committee stated that it understood that the Addis Ababa City Administration and the Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne had reached an agreement to demarcate the administrative boundaries. Bottom-up approach should have been implemented to delineate the administrative boundaries between Addis Ababa City and the Oromia region. A confidential, high-ranking official working at the Ministry of Justice told Addis Standard. Speaking on the condition of anonymity for fear of reprisal, he stated that the administrative boundary decision has been set by top governmental bodies and was delivered to the bottom instead of what was supposed to be the inverse. According to him, the public should have been the prime target of the decision, and the discussion should have been commenced from them. It is absolutely wrong to pass such a grand decision while neglecting the residents who are directly affected by it, adding, discussions have been held among Addis Ababa City Administration, Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne, and the higher officials at the federal level, he said, indicating the importance of demarcating administrative boundaries to handle the problems on the ground. EZEMA underlined that the residents in the said area should get involved and be the owners of the process. The people living in the area affected by the decisions are obliged to accept the government's decision. As a citizens, it should be known that the right to know and participate in the process should be respected, the party stressed. Reinforcing this, the unnamed government official who spoke with Addis Standard stated that despite some consensus even among the said officials, the full agreement hasn't arrived yet. There should be division of wealth and property, including condominium built by both the city administration and the Oromia region surrounding Addis Ababa have been, among others, the major issues we, the leaders, had heated debate on how the part of the implementation, he added. He further expressed that the government official from the said areas of Addis Ababa and Oromia Special Zone surrounding Finfinne will hold discussion with residents that will be affected by the decisions, taking into account that Addis Ababa is the capital and the seat for the African Union. I am afraid residents of the city who will be delineated under the special zone will not be happy. The same holds true for residents of the special zone who have built their own unique lifestyle and who are forced to be administered under the city administration. He speculated the tension. In this regard, a state-sponsored local broadcasting media interviewed some residents affected by the decision. Zaudu Magarsa, a resident of Lamikora sub-city, told this media outlet that they have consistently been asking both the city administration and the Oromia special zone surrounding Finfinne to clearly delimit the administrative boundaries, either by using bridges or such signs. They both have been giving us controversial replies when it comes to the boundaries, and we would have been able to know who to ask had they delimited the boundaries clearly, he added. Another interviewee, raising the same concern, stated that when she was seeking services, the city administration and the Oromia special zone surrounding Finfinne had discrepancies. Hordofa Demise, another resident in Lemmi Kora, has expressed his concern regarding the matter. I have neither been accepted by Bole sub-city nor by Oromia region when I demanded services including fertilizers. Both said I don't belong in any of the domains, he complained. EZEMA's announcement comes in the backdrop of the decision made that the boundary delimitation will be executed between all the districts around Addis Ababa and the Oromia special zone surrounding Finfinne. Quoting some unspecified trusted sources from Addis Ababa city administration, local radio reported that on Tuesday, August 9, detailed instructions have been sent to the ruling party, Prosperity Party members organization, and the respective Warada and sub-city officials regarding the how part of the implementation. The government pundits of the Waradas and sub-cities have been instructed to hold talks with residents who will be affected by the decision. Reports are resurfacing that a designated team that conducted a study using natural and man-made science to separate the two administrations held discussions with the said area leaders from Oromia and the city's administration on the matter. EZEMA party, however, sees the matter cautiously. It pointed out that, among others, one of the issues it expected to be resolved under the auspices of the national dialogue in Ethiopia is administrative demarcation. It, however, criticized the said administrative boundary work and the recent cluster organization decisions in the SNNP region. Such decisions do not take into account the serious problems the country is currently facing, the statement read. The party said that it didn't gauge the issue in a subtle manner as who got what, who lost what, stating its assessment on the decision as highly flawed in terms of relevance and timeliness. Excuse me. It called on the government to reconsider the matter quickly. The party announced that the details of the boundary demarcation agreement that was reached between the Addis Ababa city administration and the Oromia regional government will be thoroughly checked in the future. Neither the Addis Ababa city administration nor the Oromia special zone surrounding Finfinne has released any official information regarding the demarcation agreement. Credit Addis Standard. So that is the argument, that is opposition made by the Ethiopia Citizens for Social Justice Party, or in Amharic, EZEMA. So all this argument is about Oromia. When the legitimate owners come, all this argument will be over. Finfinne, Addis Ababa is a center of Oromia. No argument, no all this bullshit of boundaries, and so it will be resolved when the time is right. For now, let them argue. So that's all I have for today in a reading. Let's continue watching different videos I shared from different media.
The project, steeped in decades of dispute, has reached a new milestone.
This year's third filling guaranteed 22 billion square meters of water to be utilized and a turbine operated from the dam to generate electric power. The mobilization did not harm the downstream countries or their water share. During the mobilization process, the water did not stop for one day and was flowing and going to our brothers. And Ethiopia is keen to benefit from its resources to achieve development, providing electricity to our people without harming others.
For Ethiopia, harnessing the Blue Nile's waters to generate affordable electricity is essential to lift millions of its people out of poverty. But for those living downstream in Sudan, near Ethiopia's border, it's meant quite the opposite.
Our wood used to come from the Ethiopian highlands, and we'd fish it out of the Nile. But since the start of the filling of the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the other side of the border, very few logs come downstream, and instead we have to buy wood from elsewhere.
Farmers like Mohammed Ahmed say they are seeing changes in the surrounding environment as well.
Normally, this time of year, water levels are high and they irrigate our farms. But they've been dropping lower and lower for the past 3 years, and the amount of fertile soil deposits in the water has reduced. I've lost a lot of my trees this year because of that.
Sudan, Egypt and Ethiopia have long tried to reach an agreement on the operation of the dam. But negotiations have faltered, and Ethiopia began filling the dam in 2020. The countries downstream are concerned about possible disruptions to the Nile's water levels, which depend on cycles of rain in the northern Ethiopian highlands.
This year or the next year or coming year will be a low flood period. This will affect Egypt and Sudan so much because 14 billion cubic meter in the third field means amount of water is enough to irrigate about 3 million acres of agricultural land in Egypt and Sudan. And both countries, Egypt and Sudan, have a deep gap in food security.
The Renaissance Dam is expected to be operational next year. While many Ethiopians are eager to reap the benefits, communities downstream fear their livelihoods could be affected. Priyanka Gupta, Al Jazeera.
In terms of an assessment, our focus of effort is on 3 broad areas. One is ensuring the delivery of unfettered humanitarian assistance to all Ethiopians in need. Of course, there's been a tremendous focus on Tigray, and you asked about it. And we have seen some progress since the humanitarian truce. was achieved in March, but there still continues to be a sustained effort to try to improve. And just this past weekend, we're hearing that some issues relating to fuel that needs to arrive in order to allow humanitarian trucks to move on from Mekelle to get to other areas is being resolved. Secondly, in the broad category of effort of what we're trying to push forward with the Ethiopian government is to ensure that there is accountability for the gross human rights violations that have occurred. And as you probably know, the International Commission of Human Rights Experts actually did arrive in Addis on the 25th of July. I think that the talks on the modalities of their mandate and how they're going to carry it out are ongoing. They had, I think, a productive week, but I'll let them categorize it. Our emphasis is to ensure that they're given the access to travel inside of Ethiopia to affected areas to conduct a credible investigation.
But just to be clear, they haven't had that access yet to these sites of alleged violations of human rights.
That is correct. They have not been able to travel in country as of Friday morning when I met them. And so that is urgent. And we are urging, of course, the Ethiopian government to ensure that they're granted that access so that they can conduct a credible investigation.
And are you making progress on that?
We see that there was at least progress in that the government invited them to come to Addis and have a discussion about their scope of work and their mandates under the UN Security Council resolution. And so now we're just anxiously waiting to request it.
Anxiously waiting or actually putting pressure on the government to allow them to do that?
We are, and I have had discussions directly with the government on the urgent needs, not only myself, but other colleagues in the international community. We had a briefing from the Ethiopian National Security Advisor, Ambassador Redwan, and we certainly urge that the International Commission on Human Rights Experts be granted access. So I will continue to press during my stay here.
And are you optimistic?
Yes, let's just say that I think that the Ethiopian government fully understands the need for the experts to have an opportunity to travel to the affected areas and do their investigation.
Can I ask about the scope of your work? You are the envoy to the Horn of Africa. You're the third in less than 2 years since the role was created by the Biden administration. And some people might look at that and say it sends not a great signal about America's commitment.
Right. Well, let's look at it this way. The Biden administration actually created the position for having a special envoy for the Horn of Africa. It shows the very keen interest the United States has on working with our partners in the region to try to promote peace, stability, and prosperity. And I just happened to be the third one because my prior two colleagues had personal reasons for why they couldn't continue in their role.
But you can see the optics of that, can't you? Looking not great.
Well, look, no, the optics may be one thing, but the reality is that the United States is actively engaged, both with my colleagues, and now here I am at the end of the first week of me being on the job. In fact, even before I took the job, I had already done a visit to Ethiopia. But don't be concerned that I happen to be the third one. My two former colleagues were, long-time, extremely able professional diplomats. I hope to be able to help advance this process, working with many others in the Biden administration. Our ambassador here, Tracy Jacobson, and her team are working on this every day, as is Washington, to the highest levels from the president on down. There's a focus on Ethiopia, on the Horn, and again, to working to resolve some of these very difficult issues.
And of course,
including the issues relating to the drought and food security.
Yes, well, of course, money is important, and America is the biggest donor to Ethiopia, of course. And many would look at that and say, doesn't that give you perhaps the leverage to do more, to force the two sides to the table, to force the government to allow those Commission of Human Rights officials to get access to the areas where alleged atrocities
Well, it's pretty clear that we have taken some measures, like the suspension of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, that is a clear signal of the need for the Ethiopian government to take certain steps and make progress in these three areas if they want to see the resumption of economic assistance. $7 billion as a whole.
Well, yes,
in Africa.
The drought is obviously a huge issue for the region. But it's made worse, of course, by the war in Ukraine, isn't it? And Your visit follows on the heels of that of the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Ethiopia is looking at hosting this Russia-Africa summit in October, and you have a US-Africa summit in December. But many people have looked at the Lavrov visit and said, "Look, the Russians have stolen a march on America in Africa." You laugh. Why?
Well, let's be serious about who's doing what in Africa. In terms of what the United States is doing and partnering and helping address whether it's issues of health during COVID or historically in combating HIV/AIDS, or whether you're talking now and addressing concerns about drought or food insecurity. And I think our African partners can very well realize that Russia's invasion of Ukraine is exacerbating their food security situation, and that the way forward needs to be that Russia ends its invasion and aggression against Ukraine and allow, of course, for the exports of grain and other key necessities to flow.
Whatever the reality is, on the optics front, Russia seems to be doing rather well, doesn't it, in Africa?
Yeah, I'll leave it to others to judge, how well the Russians are doing in Africa. In my conversations, and, I just ended a tour in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I can assure you that there's a lot of interest in wanting to partner with the United States of America on addressing the core issues and problems and challenges the continent faces.
Okay, one more, I think.
After 3 days of heavy fighting between Israel and the Islamic Jihad movement in Gaza, a ceasefire seems to be holding. Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid praised the army's tactical successes, but the centrist politician also reached out directly to Gaza's 2 million Palestinians.
I want to address the residents of Gaza and tell them there is another way. We will know how to protect ourselves from anyone who threatens us, but we also know how to give work and livelihood and a life of dignity to everyone who wants to live in peace by our side.
To many Gazans, however, it was yet another Israeli assault that left more destruction and made a bad situation even worse.
My house was damaged by an Israeli bomb, and we're staying with relatives now. I don't know what we'll do. My father died a year ago, so it's just my mother, my sisters, and 2 young brothers. We don't have any money, even for food.
The Islamist Hamas movement, which controls Gaza, stayed out of the fighting this time. Palestinian analysts suggest that Hamas did not want to jeopardize the benefits they get from Israel, including passage of fuel through the checkpoints and almost 15,000 permits for Gazan workers to enter Israel. Each of these workers supports an estimated 10 people.
The biggest winner on the Palestinian scene is Hamas. Hamas, first of all, reaffirmed that it is the address when it comes to Gaza, and it proved that it can rein in Islamic Jihad.
But the ceasefire does nothing to fix endemic problems in Gaza, where 2/3 of residents live in poverty, unemployment is over 50%, and most of the population lives on United Nations food aid.
There is restricted access to travel. Electricity comes 12 hours a day. Sometimes it goes down to 4 hours a day. Health structure is very poor due to the different reasons. One of them is lack of medicine, lack of equipment. Some of talented doctors have left Gaza to other countries. And water in Gaza is very salty, and almost 95% of the Gaza water in the pipe are not drinkable.
Many here say that without a humanitarian solution to Gaza's problems, another round of violence is only a matter of time. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
Okay. So, thank you, VOA and other medias. So that's this, the Palestinian-Israeli issue could be resolved within 6 months if the United States seriously engage with Israelis and tell them to stop. Really, that's the only thing. If not, this cycle of violence will continue. But the Biden administration, with the limited time they have in the office, they can do something. Especially they can rush for the establishment of the two-state solution, which is the United Nations talked about it for a while. That will, give Palestinians the state. Not, not the 1967, which is imaginary, which is impossible to remove all these settlers. Very hard. Just with the remaining, get that one, fight for the remaining land. If not, this cycle of violence will continue. The bloodshed will continue. The destruction will continue. And we're gonna keep talking about this again and again. The U.S. Special Envoy to the Horn of Africa, is raised interesting questions, interesting points, especially about the accountability of the war crimes, genocides carried out in this war. Unnecessary war waged by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his supporters. It's horrible. It's so horrible. So all the rapes, all the destruction, the deaths, should somebody or those who those who participated should pay the price. So the United Nations investigation, as he said, as Michael Hammer said, they should be allowed to do their investigation independently. The government is denying them and threatening them. They want to feed them its own information in Addis Ababa. They don't want them to go to Gurage or other areas. So we'll see. We'll follow it. And that's James Atagar, who shared that video, Michael Hammer, U.S. Special Envoy. I don't know which media he took it, but it's an interview given. The other is the generating of electricity by Ethiopian Hydro Dam, or GERD, which the Sudanese and the Egyptians oppose it because of the fear of might create shortage of water resources. But today I watched different news outlets. All regional states, Gambela, Amara, Dredoa, Addis Ababa, Afar, all of them, as if the Prime Minister told them, hey, come out and celebrate this thing. Everyone was celebrating, everyone was saying, announcing. It's just like you texting a group and everyone get it, then, if it's naturally coming from inside, it's good. It looks like it's order given by the Prime Minister to those regional governors to say something about, it's okay to celebrate, but this kind of order should be challenged. And the Gurages, the Gurage council members and the Gurage residents, they can teach to the other Ethiopians how to resist, how to say no to mismanagement, failed leadership in that country. If Ethiopians look at the Gurage council members and the Gurage resistance tactic, I am sure Ethiopia will be a better place. If they can challenge Prosperity Party, if they can challenge Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, when he came out and they say anything come to his mouth. When people are hungry, he told them go eat weeds. When people are expressing frustration and the fear of living in the city, tell them to get out the city. So you can avoid such stupid response from your leader, if you come together, if you join your force, your power, resist it, you will have a better system in Ethiopia. That's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you for joining me. Be safe. So long, everyone.